welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the End SARS movement, the unfortunate incident at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos State, and basically things affecting the youth in our nation, Nigeria, today. So thank you for joining me today. It's a really sad story, and you know, it's brought a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, a lot of tears to each and every one of us. So basically, for those who do not know, the SARS stands for the Special Anti Robbery Squad, and this was created by the Nigerian government to you know, combat things like armed robbery and kidnappings and crimes of that nature. So it's unfortunate that over the years that squad has become more of a terrorist group. They basically became, that's in code, they basically became what they were created to fight against. So they're allowed to be, they're plainclothes cops. They carry guns like AK-47s, and sometimes they move in unmarked vans, and they basically can stop anyone on the streets, and they profile people based on their appearance. They can stop you just because you're driving a fancy car, or because you're dressed, you know, really hip and fly, or because you've got tattoos, or, you know, funky facial hair, things like that. So they just stop people, the youth, randomly on the streets. They demand your phone. They go through it to check your, you know, transactions, your messages and things like that. And they can basically just find anything to hold against you on your phone. So, you know, this was becoming rampant all over Nigeria, all over the country, and people were being held at gunpoint, being tossed into their vans and taken off to any station, usually without being given their phone call so that their family can know what's going on. They either get tossed into prison or they get threatened at gunpoint and asked to pay exorbitant amounts of money. So this has been going on for years. As recently as March this year, my cousin, my very own cousin, got stopped at Ojota by the SARS unit. And I didn't even know. One day I was like, okay, he came to visit, and I was like, okay, let me drop you off at Ojota so you can take a bus to your home, which was in K2. And he was like, no, he's not going to Ojota. I should take him to the Ogudu bus stop. And I couldn't understand why, because we were closer to Ojota. He said he would never go to Ojota again. I'm like, what's going on? Why? And then he started to narrate the story of how at Ojota, the SARS people, you know, grabbed him and checked his phone. He used to live, you know, out of the country, and saw transactions on his phone, and immediately they, you know, accused him of being a Yahoo boy, which is basically an internet fraudster. He's got, yes, my cousin, he dresses fly, he's got beards, sometimes no hair on his head with a long beard, so he looks, you know, like a young guy now, you know, that knows what's up. So they profiled him because of that, and they immediately dragged him off to a police station without anybody's knowledge, claiming that he is a criminal, and they were ready to toss him into jail. So can you imagine the trauma? They're ready to toss him into jail unless he paid an exorbitant amount of money, which he claimed that he didn't have at first. But when he realized that these people are going to toss me in jail for no reason whatsoever, I haven't done anything wrong, they do this on a regular. They took him to an ATM machine at one point, and they made him withdraw money from his account and pay them over 100,000, like around 150k, and then they gave him out of the money like 5k or 10k, I can't remember how much he said, to take transport home, and they just left him like that. So you can imagine they have become kidnappers, because nobody, if he had gone missing, nobody would have known where they took him from, where they took him to, what happened to him. And lots of people have recounted such crazy incidents where people just go missing, and if they refuse to pay, sometimes they even kill them, you know. And then there was a video that, you know, came up of a young man who was shot by these SARS people, and the SARS drove off in the man's SUV. They took off. So you can imagine the impunity with which they are operating. And so that's how the End SARS protests started. And the youths of Nigeria were like, we've had enough. People, so many people have died, so many people have gone missing, so many people have been kidnapped, tossed out of their vans, held at gunpoint, made to withdraw money from their accounts and pay these guys. When is it going to end? This is not right. The real criminals are going scot-free because you are more interested in extorting the innocent civilians than doing your job. So that's how the protest started, though, and it grew like wildfire. Falz the Bad Guy, which is a Nigerian celebrity, a really funny guy. He does skits and he's also a musician and an actor. And Runtown, they held a protest in Lagos, and it just grew like wildfire. Lots of youth came out. Lots of people started recounting, oh, it has happened to me, it has happened to my brother, it has happened to this person, a relative of mine is missing. Things like that. Sad stories of people who paid even millions to get their family out of the hands of these SARS folks. And still at the end of the day, you will hear that the SARS killed that individual and they still collected the money after, before they even, and they hardly even admit that the person is dead until they have sucked the life's blood out of the family. So you can imagine the heartache in the hearts of so many Nigerians all over the country. That's why people started coming out to protest though. There were lots. It was trending on social media, SARS, even Jack, the Twitter owner, made a what's it called, a smiley or an icon of Nigeria, a hand, just showing solidarity, with what we're going through. And when this SARS protest started, before you knew it, other states were also protesting, because this thing wasn't limited to Lagos State, it was happening all over Nigeria. So people started protesting all over the country, and we were like, SARS is not the only problem we've got in this day and age. Police brutality is also something. So it's not even just the SARS unit that was committing these crimes. The police also act with impunity. They beat people up, they shoot people randomly, stray bullets hit people selling, hawkers on the road. They just fire with impunity. It's like they don't have to report why they fired, they don't have to give a situation report that, okay, this is what happened and this is why I fired my weapon or something like that. Because if they did, they would, and if they suffered consequences for firing with impunity, this wouldn't be happening. So we're like, end SARS, end police brutality. There are so many things that are wrong in our nation today. Electricity is a problem. Like now, look at me, I'm sweating. There's no light in my house. There's no light in my house. You have to provide electricity for yourself, and the go higher, they go up every single day. Do you understand? So it's like we were just fed up. So everybody started protesting online, on Twitter. Even me, I've had Twitter for years. I'm not a fan of Twitter. I have it, but I don't use it. But when this protest started, gaining momentum, I was like, I have to know what is going on in real time, and I have to be active online, even if I cannot be active, out in the world. Because like I jokingly told my husband, like, if they start shooting now, I cannot run. So I'm the first person that will fall down, if I take a few steps because of my leg. So, we're protesting physically, we're protesting online. People were donating money. The feminist coalition, which is playfully called the Feminine Coven on Twitter, they created platforms where people could donate, to help the cause, and monies were flowing in like crazy. Millions were raised in Naira, thousands were raised in USD, Canadian dollars, so many, donations from all over the world. And we're using these monies, we were arranging. So that's the thing, when these protests were going on, we had to be arranged. The police were still arresting innocent people on the streets, people protesting. We would hear stories of, oh, this person got picked up by the police, that person, with trumped up charges, no charges whatsoever, except that the police were angry that we're protesting against them. So they would pick up the youth and toss them into prison. And that's how the the feminist coalition used the monies donated to create a platform of lawyers that would get these people, these protesters that have been arrested, out of prison. And they were even discovering that there were trumped up charges against these protesters. Before you knew it, in 2 days they had accused them of being kidnappers, they had accused them, 2 guys, of being murderers, people that they picked up from the protest ground, just to show you that they were acting with hate, with evil intentions? How do you pick someone up from the protest ground, and without any evidence you claim that the person is a kidnapper? Who did he kidnap? Where? When? How? No evidence, no nothing, just trumped up charges. So there were lawyers that were working pro bono. They were gathering ambulances for people who may get injured, during the protests and things like that. The monies, they were organizing food. Oh my God, when the protests were at the height, people, caterers, people who, sell food online and all of that, people were donating food, all kinds of food for the protesters, and drinks and water and everything. Celebrities were doing impromptu concerts just to get people out into the streets so that we could protest, we could get, larger numbers. People were having fun, but at the same time, we were trying to get the government's attention, to get them to realize that, look, we will no longer be quiet. You cannot treat us like this and get away with it. Do you understand? So that was what was going on. And the government decided, the president did not even send us at first. He did not even answer, no response, as if he didn't even realize anything was happening in his country, And then later on, when for instance, the protests in Lagos started focusing a lot on the Lekki toll gate area, and that toll gate is like a major money maker for the state of Lagos. And to be honest, that money, I don't believe, my personal opinion, I don't believe that money is used to improve the state. That money is going directly into the pockets of the Godfather. So, that's where a huge part of the protest was going on. And while that was happening, the toll gates were not operational because there were so many people blocking it. Cars could not go by, and also they were losing money. They claimed they lost an exorbitant amount. I don't even care how much it is, because we were focused on the issues we were raising. So the government responded and they said, okay, we've heard your cries, we'll do this and that, we will create panels to discuss. And that's the thing, this country is over 60, has been independent for over 60 years. We've been suffering. Every day they create one panel to discuss this or discuss that, and nothing gets done. So even when they came out to tell us that, they were going to start looking into, the claims of police brutality and all of that, they announced that they were going to dissolve SARS. That's how people started showing articles from the years 2016, 17, 18, where they claimed to have dissolved SARS, and this SARS was still in operation. So they showed where they kept announcing, in 2017 we've dissolved it, in 2018 we've disbanded it, in 2019. So people were like, this is audio. This is just audio for the sake of audio. You guys are not dissolving or disbanding anything. So they announced that, 2020 October, they disbanded SARS, and guess what? They said they would create a new unit called SWAT. I don't even know, Special Weapon Armor, whatever group. And I'm like, I don't understand. Is it a name change? We are saying these people have been committing crimes that they should be prosecuted. You are telling us you are disbanding it, but you are also creating a new unit to do what? The same thing that SARS has been doing to us all this while. So NSWAT, another arm of the protest, started again. NSWAT, as in, we didn't ask for a name change. We asked for action. They didn't even. It was almost as if they tried to gloss over, the crimes that these men have committed. We need them to be persecuted. We need them to face charges for, the inhumanity. We need them to face a court of law and pay for the lives that they have taken with impunity. Do you get? So we didn't stop protesting even after they addressed, even after they told us they were going to set panels, or they asked for leaders, and the youth did something special to my way of thinking, because we know how it has worked in our fathers' generations. We know that once the government has a group of people to focus on, so-called leaders, they will threaten them, they will threaten their family, they will try to bribe them with obscene amounts of cash, and they will not be safe. The next thing they'll toss them in prison on some trumped up charges. This has happened in the past, so we didn't want to select leaders because we knew that it would be putting those people's lives in danger. So we were like, look, we're all speaking with one voice. We've given you our 5 for 5 demands. Work on them. What do you need? Do you need us? They keep saying, come and dialogue and all of that. Do you need us to tell you how to do your job? We're not saying don't set up panels or anything. We're just saying let those panels do what they are supposed to do in the shortest amount of time possible. Don't drag this on for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and tell us you are working on it, you are working on it. Why? Because we will still keep suffering while you are working on it. That is how on the 20th of October 2020, the governor of Lagos State announced a curfew. Once again, I apologize for swearing. Like I mentioned, there's no lights, so there's nothing I can do about it at this time. So the governor of Lagos announced a curfew at around 12. He announced a curfew that was going to go into effect at 4 p.m. This is Lagos. Lagos traffic is crazy. You cannot get anywhere within that amount of time. So the people that were in Lekki on the protest grounds at the Lekki toll gate decided they were going to stay there. They were not going to leave because there's no way you're going to get to your house anyway. So you might as well stay in one place. People got the flags because we heard rumors that, oh, the army is coming in and all of that. Oh, the army can't shoot you if you're holding the Nigerian flag. So people got Nigerian flags. People were still at the protest ground peacefully singing the national anthem and all of that. And then later on it was announced that, okay, the curfew time has been shifted to 9 p.m. But people stayed regardless because by now it's too late to start hustling to get back home. So that's how around evening, I'm not really quite sure the time, 7ish, 8ish, that's how the army started trooping in. The lights went off, the street lights went off. There's a giant billboard, a huge billboard at that Lekki toll gate that illuminates that area completely. That billboard went dark as well. And the next thing we heard was that there were gunshots at the Lekki toll gates. The army was firing at unarmed civilians that were protesting. They were exercising their constitutional rights to peaceful protests. These were young men and women out there calling for an end to police brutality, to bad governance in Nigeria. And what was the government's response? They called in the army and they fired. People died, people got hurt. There are so many videos on Twitter. You're free to go and research. #end SARS, #end police brutality in Nigeria, #end SWAT, #end bad governance in Nigeria. There are videos. There was even an Instagram live of a very popular DJ Switch, that people watched on Instagram, and she was there at the Lekki toll gates, of how they were being shot at, how people were dying right beside her. People were dropping like flies, and people were getting injured as well. And of course you can imagine the panic that goes on when something like that happens. So it was a devastating event, and the gunshots kept going up until daytime. DJ Switch said even when she was recording during the day, the next day, there were still sporadic gunshots. And even while they were shooting, they said they set up fires on each side of the Lekki toll gate, so you couldn't even run completely out of that area. You were restricted to that surrounding. So you can see that they had a plan, a evil, dastardly plan, to show us pepper, like they like to say. And they did it. They did it. For 2 days after that incident, we didn't hear from our president of this country. We heard from the governor of Lagos. Came out the following morning, went to hospital to take pictures with people with gunshot wounds, and said it was an unfortunate incident that forces beyond his control were behind the incident at the Lekki toll gates. People lost their minds. People were like, there is no way the army comes into your state and does what they did without you knowing about it. There are so many things you could have done. If you did not agree with this action, you could have gone to the Lekki toll gate yourself. The army will not fire at the governor. You could have gone there yourself to protect your citizens. Breaking a curfew is not the penalty for breaking a curfew is not death. It's not death at the hands of the army of your country. That's not the penalty. And besides, that shooting happened before the 9 p.m. when the curfew was about to start. So you can see that it was a set plan. It was a setup right from the get-go. And he set this curfew because some thugs in different parts of Lagos were trying to hijack the protests by burning police stations, just vandalizing stuff. And that's why they claim to have set the curfew. But those thugs, there were videos online showing those thugs coming out of government SUVs. Do you understand? With security forces. There were even videos of police officers directing the thugs. So imagine a man in uniform with his official gun directing the so-called thugs to where they can go and destroy. There was even one of a police officer who was involved in the vandalization of a car. So we were like, the government orchestrated the entry of these thugs into the protest so that they could have an excuse to set a curfew and an excuse to go hard on the protesters, because they probably just thought that it was a slap to their face for these children to be protesting against them. And I don't understand. You don't want to be held accountable for anything. And even when the president eventually addressed the nation a couple of days ago, he was robotic. There was no empathy, no sympathy, no pain at the lives lost. He even threatened, as in, first of all, he addressed the international community that they should get facts before they, put mouths in our Nigerian matter, that videos were doctored, that it was photoshopped. The Nigerian army said that they were not involved, even though there were videos showing the army they were not involved, and that these so-called protesters will not be, they are taking their rapid response, that the government's rapid response to our demands was taken as weakness, and so any further protests will not be taken lightly. Basically threatening us, if we value our lives, we should not protest the king. That's basically what the president came to say. He even went further to show sympathy for the police officers that lost their lives, because there were some thugs that attacked the station, killed 1 or 2 policemen. He showed more sympathy for the police people that lost their lives in the line of duty than the civilians, the unarmed civilians that were killed by his army. He didn't even mention Lekki, not to talk of Massacre, not talk of toll gate or anything. He just said he's sorry for the lives that were lost. That's all he said. And in fact, I didn't even hear it. I watched it, I didn't hear it. I saw it when they released the breakdown of the speech. That's where I saw it. I didn't hear him say that, but people said he said it. And that's it. That they've set up a panel. We should elect people to sit on the panel with them, and that we should take advantage of the other things, programs the government have to alleviate poverty. In other words, shut up and go about your daily activities. No more protests. That thing hit Nigerians like a ton of bricks, and we lost hearts, we lost hope, we lost faith, we lost everything. As in, I don't even know why we even set ourselves up for such disappointment, because for those 2 days he was silent. We were like, president should address us, we need to know what's happening. Basically, that speech just sucked the lives out of everybody. And of course, trust Nigerians. Now, how do we deal with pain? We started joking, we started cracking jokes online about going abroad, marrying somebody to get into another country, getting a passport and all of that. But now here we are. So it's a really sad time for us. It's a sad time for us, Nigerians here in Nigeria and Nigerians in diaspora. And hey, the good thing is Nigerians in diaspora have also shown solidarity and support. They've also been, protesting in their various countries, in Berlin, in London, in the United States. They've been protesting against SARS as well. And that's the thing. They are being protected by the police in those countries during their protests. But here, they're being killed by the police and by the army for exercising our constitutional rights. So we need to pray for this country. We need to really pray for this country. And after that speech that the president gave, the vandalism has just gone haywire. They've been burning BRT, bus stations, burning government buildings, burning the Godfather's assets, TVC. They burnt it, so many things, and they're destroying malls, looting. It's just crazy that the very people we are fighting for, small businesses that have borrowed millions to run a business, you've destroyed it. And that's how you know that it's not those of us that were protesting for a better Nigeria that are doing these things. it's been taken over by thugs and of course ne'er-do-wells and people who take advantage of sad situations like this, and it's really sad. But as usual, we Nigerians were rising up to the occasion. There are donations going around, in an attempt to raise money to help the businesses to get back on their feet. The Lagos State government has promised that they will help small businesses and all. There's a form online for you to fill if your business has been affected by the vandalism that has been going on. Yeah. And then let me end on, well, it's not a lighter note, but warehouses have been discovered all over the country of COVID-19 palliatives. There was a warehouse discovered in Lagos, 600 by 600 feet warehouse that was full of rice, sugar, salt, spaghetti, indomie, and it was glaringly written on it, COVID-19 not for sale. Do you understand? These are palliatives that they were supposed to share to the citizens while we were on lockdown, but they kept them in warehouses. So once that happened in Lagos, that's how people in other states started. I don't know whether they were searching for it or whether they were tipped off for. Most likely tipped off, because how would you know which warehouse those palliatives were stored at? That's how people started discovering warehouses in every state all over the country, and they were recording people just going in and just taking bags of rice, garri, like.
A warehouse of 600 feet by 600 feet full of COVID-19 products was discovered today. Look at people.
This food was meant for us in the first place. Why was the government hoarding it? For what purpose? And while the COVID-19 lockdown was on, if you see what they were sharing to people, they were sharing rice in bag for a family to eat that was not bigger than this. They were sharing 2 packs, single packs of indomie for a family to eat. So you can see that the hearts of men is indeed desperately wicked. The people in government are evil to the core, and so the call goes out for young Nigerians like you and I to stop sitting down and folding our arms like our parents did. We need to go into politics. We need to care. Like me, I've never cared about politics. It's a bone of contention between me and my husband. He likes politics. I don't know anything about politics. But after this protest, look, the onus is on us to learn your constitutional rights, learn what is supposed to be, what is obtainable in other countries all around us. Do you understand? So that we can fight for our rights. Join political parties, join your local government, go to local government meetings, hear what is happening in your constituency, know what is obtainable, what you can do, get your voters card. 2023 is down the line. We need to vote these old men out and let young people take over, young people that are smart, intelligent, know what they are doing, that can take this country to greater heights. That's what we need to do. We need to do things. We can't just sit back. We can't just be Twitter warriors anymore. We need to take action, and the time is now. Even as we pray for Nigeria, we also have to act. We have to act. We have to act. This cannot continue, because otherwise our children are going to say the same things about us that we are saying about our parents' generation, that we did nothing. Let it not be said of us that we did nothing, even after the Lekki Massacre, after that dastardly event. Let's let the people who lost their lives for this cause, let their sacrifices not be in vain. Let us act and act now. Thank you for watching. Today was quite a solemn video, but it is what it is, and this is what's going on in our country right now, and this is what is important. So please leave your comments below. Any ideas you may have, how to make our country better, what the youths can do strategy wise, to get the government to do the right thing. Comment below, let us know, and let's discuss. Okay, kindly subscribe to my channel, give a thumbs up if you liked, and share with your friends. Thank you. Bye for now.